family of InfoWarsLife.com products. Secure your Survival Shield X2 today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. In the near future.
When you realize how fake it all is, the football, the basketball.
Alert. Security alert. This is Homeland Security. Analysis. InfoWars building independent media operation.
You let the worst people get control and tell us that we are the ones responsible.
Prime directive. Discredit Alex Jones.
Jones is the wildly popular conspiracy theorist.
A popular conspiracy theory talk show called InfoWars.
Alex Jones is now in an Austin jail.
These people are assaulting us.
Targeting of patriots engaged.
They are never going to stop. They're never going to deviate from their program until we stop them.
Block free iPhone app at Infowars.com. Block free podcast and video feed. Imperative. Destroy Prison Planet TV.
You gotta set your eye on the enemy, not worry about what propaganda they put out. Intellectually, it's begun. You can feel it.
Using unparalleled research in the development of a synergistic formulation based around the key concepts of superoxygenation, the next level in cleansing is here. With key ingredients backed by real clinical studies, the new Oxy Powder, available through InfoWars Life, was invented during Dr. Group's research on the toxification of our bodies. Many herbal colon cleansers are harsh on the body and contain cheap and potentially dangerous ingredients, oftentimes full of synthetic fillers, GMOs, additives, or worse. Gently start cleaning your body with easy capsules that start working while you sleep. Oxy Powder does not require time off work, and there's no need for bad-tasting concoctions. Instead, Oxy Powder slowly releases monoatomic oxygen into the intestinal tract and body. Experience the astonishing cleansing power of superoxide and ozonide technology. Go to InfoWarsLife.com or InfoWarsStore.com to get started with Oxy Powder, or call 1-888-253-3139.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
Welcome back to The Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, your host, and we're going to try to get through as many calls as we can in this last segment. I want to go to Chris in Kentucky. Chris, go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Dave, for taking my call. You're absolutely right on the documentary about the military takeover in these drills. I mean, this is going on for some time. And when 9/11 happened, I live in Louisville, Kentucky, and I tell you, in this town, the Kentucky Derby is like a total police state in this county. Mm-hmm. They want to condition people every year how safer and safer they are when you have more feds and more military and everybody blending together with these armed tyrants, what I call them. And that's what's going on in this country. And these people under 35 and younger have no clue. They're just like, well, what's the big deal? Or they don't care, or they don't see it because, being tracked is trendy. There's nothing wrong with Big Brother looking at you.
That's right. And, Chris, they've grown up in school with armed guards. I didn't have police in the schools when I was going to school. We didn't have metal detectors in the school when I was going to school. And we didn't have the kind of crime that we have today. This does not make us safer. Creating a police state does not make you safer. You do not get security by giving up your liberty. When you give up your liberty, you become a slave. You live in a prison state. You live in a maximum security state. That's what we call the worst prisons. Prisons is maximum security, and that's what we're getting in the state. And as you rightly pointed out, the younger generation is totally acclimated to this. They don't see anything wrong with this, and that's the whole point. That's what's so perversive and about this, and what's so dangerous about this is the way that they are acclimating everyone to living in this.
Absolutely. With the cell phones, you get storable food, you're being tracked. You're going to be tracked. It's like everywhere you go, you got Wi-Fi, satellite systems, they're going to track you. All this stuff about missing this and that crime, whatever the case may be, you're tracked. You're guilty to proven innocence. That's what we're getting into.
Absolutely. And you look at the Stingray, for example. You're talking about tracking people. They're collecting everyone's information with these fake cell phone towers. They would not even tell the judges where they got this information because they had something that was more important than their oath to the Constitution, more important than enforcing the law. They had something that's called a non-disclosure agreement that they'd signed with Harris Corporation. So they weren't going to talk about the Stingray. And actually had a case where the judge said, well, you don't have a non-disclosure agreement with me. At that point, the law enforcement said, well, we'll just dismiss the case then. Let this criminal go rather than do that. And, of course, the problem is we just had a case come out of Charlotte, North Carolina, where they're talking about the fact that they're using Stingray. They admit that they're using Stingray. And they say, but we're disclosing this. We disclosed the fact that we collected this evidence to the defendants, so they can't use that as a way to turn back the conviction in many cases. The problem is that they're not getting a search warrant to search these people or to search others. It isn't the fact that they disclose it or didn't disclose it to the defense attorneys. The fact is that they did not get a search warrant. When we allow the government to get rid of things like search warrants, when we allow them, going all the way back to the RICO statutes in 1970 with Richard Nixon, they said, we got to go after organized crime, so we're going to give the government the power to confiscate people's property without actually finding them guilty of a crime. Once you break the law in fundamental ways like that, once you break the idea of the presumption of innocence, once you break the idea that you have to convict somebody before you can penalize them, then all bets are off. And that's what's happening right now with this massive dragnet surveillance state that we have. It's going to have the same kind of effects down the line that we have seen that came about with the RICO statute, with the civil asset forfeiture of Reagan in 1986. The fact that they can pull you over and steal your car without even charging you with a crime, let alone finding you guilty of a crime. That's the kind of thing we have to be worried about, and that's what's happening now with this police state. You're absolutely right. It's rolling this out, conditioning the public to seeing the military everywhere, and unfortunately, it seems to be working because most of the younger people I see are really passive about this because they have seen it as they grew up in the schools, on the streets, everywhere. They're just rolling it out to a larger area. Was there anything else you wanted to say, Chris?
Yeah, I just want to say that, there's a lot of good people in government. Folks, step up, county, state, especially the sheriff. The sheriff has the power in their county to say no to this and give them gun rights and freedom and stop this, federal surveillance, whatever. The sheriff has the power.
Absolutely. And, people are stepping up in certain areas. We've had in Wyoming as well as in New Mexico, we've had the state legislatures step up, for example, with civil asset forfeiture. And I didn't get a chance to cover this today. We'll cover it tomorrow. But we had the legislature, I believe it was unanimous in both the House and the Senate in New Mexico, said they wanted to stop civil asset forfeiture. They wanted to make sure that the government could not steal your property without charging you and convicting you of something that was a crime. And it looks like the governor is maybe not going to sign that bill. We just had a similar thing happen in Wyoming, where both the state House and Senate passed a bill to stop civil asset forfeiture. And amazingly, the governor, I think his name is Meade in Wyoming, said, no, civil asset forfeiture is a right. In other words, the government has a right to confiscate your property for no reason at all. And he says, crime should not pay, especially drug crime. Well, you know what? Theft should not pay, especially when the government steals. And that's what the government is becoming. Just like Lysander Spooner said, the difference between a highwayman and the government is that the highwayman just takes your purse and then leaves you alone, whereas the government steals your money and follows you down the road nagging you. Well, it's getting much worse than that. They kill people, they steal everything without even charging you with a crime. Thank you, Chris. Let's go to Joe in New York. Joe.
Hi, David. If the Jade Helm is to condition the citizens to seeing the military, how about reversing that and having a citizen on every street corner when the military rolls through town to condition them slightly?
I agree with that. I think that's why it's very important that we get the information out about Jade Helm. See, the information didn't go out about Fort Lauderdale. It hasn't gone out about so many of these things. When we did this report a year ago, that we played a little bit of an excerpt about it, where they were doing it in L.A., where they were doing it in Chicago and Miami. They don't tell people about it until it's about to happen, or as it's happening. The media will come on and say, oh, don't be alarmed. This isn't any big deal. I think that's what they're going to do with Jade Helm. If anybody had an issue about it and called the police would say, oh, don't worry about it. We know this is the military. They're doing a training exercise. This is why it's important that people get this information. And as you point out, they're there to film what's going on, to let them know that we're watching what they're doing. I think that's a very important thing to do.
Well, there are a whole bunch of other things that could be done, but too much to go into right here. If you want to talk to me offline, feel free to call.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Give them your phone number. I appreciate that. Thank you, Joe. Let's go to Rob in Arizona. Rob?
Yeah, David. Nice to talk to you today. Thank you for doing a great job. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's a little bit echoey. You don't have your are you on a speakerphone?
I'll switch to my handset.
Okay.
Hear me better now?
Yeah, that's much better. Much better. Thank you.
Okay, one thing that nobody is talking about, I'm not hearing it from Alex, nobody, and that is the fact that Ted Cruz is not eligible to run for president. Why? Because he was born in Calgary, Alberta, and the Constitution is quite clear in that regard. I have a copy of it right in front of me, and I know
I
there
agree.
are two Harvard professors.
Rob, I did talk about that on the nightly news. I mentioned the fact that a lot of the people who brought up the same objections about Barack Obama, saying that his father was not a U.S. citizen, his mother was, and then there was a question as to whether or not he was born in the United States. But we know that Ted Cruz was not born in the United States. We know that his father was not a U.S. citizen. We know that his mother was. So that brings up an issue of the same thing as what is a natural-born citizen. I think it's very important, although that's not precisely defined as to what a natural-born citizen is. I think that's a very important aspect, but I see people on the right basically giving him a pass. What bothers me even more is the fact that his wife was very much involved, not only with the Council on Foreign Relations, but also in terms of producing this plan for NAFTA, basically saying that the North American Union should have a common border around all three countries. She was a part of that. I would think that if you're going to run for president, that you might want to pull back from that. Of course, she's also a Goldman Sachs banker. Before that, I think it was J.P. Morgan she was working with. And his father, who was working with against Castro, I cannot believe that somebody that would be working to overthrow Castro would not have CIA connections. So all of that gives me a lot to be concerned about Ted Cruz, and I just hope that he's not a libertarian Manchurian candidate, but time will tell. I think the thing that's really going to tell us, Rob, is I think we need to see how these guys are going to break, all of them. Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, any Republican candidate. I think we need to see what these guys are going to do with the transatlantic and the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That should tell us where their loyalties lie. Do their loyalties lie to corporate global governance and the big banks, or does it lie to a constitutional sovereign people? I think, however, most of them at the federal level think that it's already a fait accompli, that we've already lost America, as General Petraeus says. That's why I think we need to start working and not pay so much attention to the presidential races as we do to try to roll things back at the state level, just like we saw the legislatures in New Mexico and in Wyoming stop this madness of civil asset forfeiture. I think we can do that with state nullification, and I think we need to have jury nullification. People need to understand their rights as jurors, because that's the way you shut down bad state laws as well, not just the bad encroachments from the federal government. We're out of time. Sorry to the rest of the callers we can't get to you, but we'll be back tomorrow at 11 Central, 12 Eastern Time on the Alex Jones Radio Show. Join us then.
InfoWars Life and InfoWarsLife.com is extremely excited to announce our latest release, Winter Sun, a revolutionary type of vitamin D3. Winter Sun is a premium quality vitamin D3 nutritional supplement. It is produced by extracting oil from healthy, nutrient-dense plants known as lichens. Every batch is analyzed for purity and D3 content. It's completely free of toxins and allergens. Simply put, if you want the best at an extremely low price, this is it. Winter Sun is the result of our pursuit of the best source of vitamin D3. The research and development took over 2 years, but the result, as verified by independent laboratories, is the best vegan vitamin D3 product in the world. Read the facts at InfoWarsLife.com about Winter Sun Vitamin D3. Not only does vitamin D3 promote a healthy mood, but vitamin D supports our memory and brain function, something the globalists are targeting. Visit InfoWars.com today or call 888-253-3139. Aging starts at the cellular level. When cells become toxic, they die early and aging sets in. In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries. During that period, key patented compounds have focused on mitochondrial growth, nerve growth, and rejuvenation. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. We now have the synergistic solution, DNA Force, just one of the key compounds. BioPQQ is backed by major clinical studies and over 175 PubMed-listed published studies. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force.